Hi, so today is Monday, which is not the usual day that the Board of Supervisors meets, and I will explain in a minute why we met today. And in fact, just a little teaser, every Board of Supervisors in the state actually met today on Monday. It is a statutory requirement. But again, more on that later. I want to dive into a couple of other big decisions that we made today. So first, we approved that the administration of the county will start digging into some changes to some of the guidance, the rules around some of our zoning as it relates to data centers and large water and energy users. So right now the situation is that in certain areas, in certain zoning, data centers can be built under some industrially zoned parcels by right, which means that the board and the public would have little to no say whatsoever about how the land is used and how the project might develop. The energy and water usage, community engagement, noise levels, aesthetics. So what we have put on the table today is to initiate the process for what is called a code text amendment to zoning that would ensure that data centers and other large water and energy users would have to get a conditional use permit. And what that means is that they would go to the Planning and Zoning Commission, where they would get discussion and review by that body. There would be public hearings. It would come to the board for a final vote. Conditional use permits are a very common process for all sorts of specific industries under different types of zoning already existing in the county. This is something that other communities have already done. Tempe, Mesa, the city of Phoenix, many others. It is a process that the city of Tucson has also just initiated. So in fact, we will be doing this kind of in step with the city of Tucson to ensure that we're both in alignment, and so that we can then prevent that some company might come in and be trying to sort of jockey off of the city or avoid stricter rules by going to the county. So this way it ensures that some of our processes are consistent across the city and the county. This is also works kind of in tandem with two other measures that we're driving forward. One is the reform of the use of non-disclosure agreements, and then the other is requiring environmental impact analyses of economic development projects. So when you put those three things together, the zoning, environmental impact, and NDAs, we hope that we will not be caught flat-footed in the future as surely more data centers and other utility-intensive projects land in our laps. So I was happy that measure made it through today, through the board. We also approved allocating $600,000 from the library district to make our Pima early education program, PEEPS, whole. It was, we didn't get all the revenue in that we had anticipated for this fiscal year, so this allocation makes PEEPS reach as far and wide as we had wanted it to reach this year. So what PEEPS does is it provides scholarships for lower income, middle income families to help cover the costs of early childhood education. Those costs can range anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a year for preschool programs. And getting kids in preschool is one of the most effective ways to get kids on the path for excelling in education. It is also an amazing way to help get new parents back to work. So early childhood education is just on so many levels considered to be a key for educational success, a way to strengthen our workforce, and help foster kind of the economic stability and growth within our community. So we were happy to be able to support kind of making peeps whole throughout Pima County, and ensuring that children have access to scholarships to get them into preschool. So here's why we all met today on Monday rather than Tuesday. So there is a state requirement that on this day, on Monday, today it happens to be August 18th, that boards of supervisors have to approve the tax levy. So we had already approved back on, I believe it was June 17th, we'd approved our budget and we approved the tax rate. The tax levy is a little bit different in that it is actually the amount of money. So we authorize the amount of money, the actual dollars and cents that is to be collected by the county. We also approved the levy for all of the other kind of secondary taxes that show up on your property tax bill, right? The county's property tax is your primary tax, and then there are secondary taxes that include all of the other districts, right? Could be your fire district, right? That they set their own tax rate. There's the within the county, there's a library tax district. Outside, drawing blanks, but we have, but there are a number of different taxation districts. Some communities have their own facilities districts. So we looked at today what the actual amount, the dollar, the very specific dollars and cents that will be collected through all of these taxation districts, as well as through our own property tax, and approved that. So we just tied a nice little bow on top of the budget, the tax rate, and the tax levy, and got that out the door. We also discussed, we got some updates today on the Pima Climate Action Plan, as well as some updates on the county's wildfire mitigation plan. Both of these are bringing together kind of, multi-sectorial, for lack of a better word, folks that have a lot of stake and interest in both climate, and I should say the climate plan is both looking at the operations of Pima County. So how our facilities, our fleet, our operations, our parks and rec, the ways in which we are contributing to climate change and the ways in which we can reduce greenhouse gas emissions within what the county does and the things that we have concrete control over, as well as looking outside and looking at the region in ways that we can support reductions in greenhouse gas, as well as building up our adaptability and our resilience to the effects of climate change. And then the last piece I'll mention, it's gonna come back on the next board meeting, but we had a discussion around a proposal that was put on the table from our Economic Development Department at the suggestion of Supervisor Hines, for Pima County's Economic Development Department to kind of lean into foreign direct investment in Mexico. So what that means is that we are considering hiring what could be staff, or opening up an office in a city or two in Mexico to encourage collaboration, investment in partnerships with businesses and universities in Mexico that can benefit both of us, but specifically Pima County. Myself, Supervisor Scott, as well as Supervisor Christie, the three of us actually had voted to continue this item so that it shows up on our next meeting agenda. My issue is that I just wanted a better sense of the landscape, because as I have been talking about this idea with different people and leaders around in the community, it sounds like there are, the Arizona Commerce Authority has, an office in Mexico and staff in Mexico. Visit Tucson, which does a lot of tourism attraction work, has a presence in Mexico, as do other municipalities. The city of Tucson, we have the Arizona Mexico Commission. So all that is to say, I just wanted a better understanding of kind of which entities are where, if they're in Mexico City and they're in Aguascalientes or Guadalajara or Baja or where, and kind of why. What is the focus? What is the strategy, so that we can have a good sense of where it makes the most sense for us to be, and understanding what our goal is, and that where we are is a place that will help us further our goals. So more to come on that at our next meeting. I will also flag that our meeting on September 2nd is the meeting where we will be reviewing a policy around the county's use of non-disclosure agreements in economic development projects. We will also be discussing conducting environmental impact reviews as part of economic development projects, so that they complement the economic analysis that we often receive with economic development projects. So a lot of things happening, a lot of things coming together, and I appreciate all your support and reaching out to us. Please come to either a Board of Supervisors meeting or one of our upcoming office hours in a neighborhood near you. And thank you for all your support and feedback.